Evening to everyone. Can you hear me? Yes, great. I'm on. Hey, I just wanted to welcome everybody to the Open Up Live Talk Show. My name is Alethia Cadore, and I am a psychotherapist and child youth practitioner, mental wellness advocate, and volunteer at Voice of Men 360. So, Voice of Men 360 is a nonprofit organization founded in 2010 and is based in London, Ontario, Canada. Voice of Men 360 was born out of seeing a tremendous need and stepping up to provide services to help support and overcome men, boys, and life challenges. We are part of International Men's Day, and International Men's Day has been serving over 21 years, and so far, 90 countries around the world have joined together doing various activities regularly. IMD follows six pillars, which we look at the overall well-being of boys and men. We follow in the same footsteps. And why did we choose the name Open Up? Well, Open Up, we notice that men don't always open up their hearts and are willing to share their matters with anyone. When men keep their emotional challenges within themselves for a long time, at some time and at some point, it will come out and explode, and it will negatively affect their health condition in many ways. And that's why we want to create an open space to allow individuals to share their life journey through this platform. We aim to create awareness about life challenges, struggles, overcome ups and downs, and that boys and men go through in their lives. There are no limitations with gender, age, or nationality or ethnic group in sharing your life journey. All walks of life can participate. Our goal is to make a positive impact on someone's life through this program. Open Up is on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and we bring an individual on our show and let them share their life experiences with you. So, before I introduce our special guest for today, I'd like to go through our disclaimer. We would like to remind you that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith toward peaceful harmony. The views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not represent Voice of Men 360. Our organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness of the issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We are not providing medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that of assistance, we recommend you contact the medical professional immediately. If you have any questions or concerns about today's episode or any of the Voice of Men 360 content, please email us at info voiceofmen360.org. And I just want to introduce you to our Open Up guest for this evening. His name is Lyttle. He is an addiction and trauma expert and the author of Wound Healer. And I wanted to just share a little bit about the book Wound Healer. I mean, it's a fantastic book, and I really enjoyed the excerpt that was written in Amazon about the book. So I just wanted to share a little bit of that with you. And then we're going to get right into speaking with Lee and talking a little bit about his journey. So, Wounded Healer chronicles author Lee Little's childhood abuse by an older babysitter. The author learned to cope and come to terms with this experience and how he came to help other victims and advance a greater understanding of trauma and the actions needed to overcome and prevent childhood abuse. Lee's memoir is a testament to the power of vulnerability and candidness in recovery. Lee is embracing his story and giving you a glimpse into the process, which will hopefully empower your own healing. Not only does the book contain poetry, and hopefully we'll save some room to hear some poetry tonight in the literal sense, but his entire work is also a work of poetry in action and recovery as an art form. So I want to welcome Lee to the space. Welcome, Lee.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing amazing this evening. And, we have spoken before. And, I just want to thank you for writing this book. And I know that when we spoke, I mentioned to you that how it really touched me that there was space here that we can create just to talk about, things that were happening for you in your journey. So I just want to, you know, welcome you and just ask you how are things going on your healing journey.
They're going wonderful. I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge you and Sivam for the great work you're doing, and Sivam especially because he's the person that kind of has encouraged me to do this and set things up, and so and a great conversation also just leading into the podcast with you as well, and I'm so grateful that I have a chance to be a part of this. So I just wanted to acknowledge that the great work that you're doing. Um, there's so much that happens in recovery as a male trauma survivor of early childhood trauma. Um, and it's sometimes it's hard to know where to start, but I know that when I get current and I sort of look at where I'm at in the current moment, I'm actually doing quite well in my life. I have a stable life for the most part. I work, I live, and each day I just face challenges each day, and there's a lot of hope that I wanted to give with my message in terms of my healing with my recovery. In time, everybody does have that chance to hopefully find the right support networks that they can to heal from this tragic thing that happened for sure for me for you if you experienced early childhood trauma. So,
Mm-hmm. And, I really want to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, it is something that, you know, people do face once they have experienced a traumatic event, that it does take time to heal, and it's something that doesn't happen overnight. And can you tell me what were one of those challenges or barriers that you faced in that recovery journey? I know you said you found some very supportive people. Did you find that that was just along the way, or you found the resources very helpful in that time of need?
well, that's a good question. I think I've always felt like um, big big change happened in my life when I was going through a heavy amount of fear and pain and confusion and desperation. Um, and to get out of that, I think I was just open to any type of help that I could get in my earlier life. And one of the barriers for me for getting for looking at my trauma was that I was addicted to alcohol and a little bit of drugs for quite some time. So it was only when I had stopped drinking and using drugs and alcohol that I was able to get a sober mind so that I can look at doing that other deeper work with the trauma. And so that took a bit of time to sort of, find those support circles, through recovery groups. I've been to many different, when I started my earlier journey, I started going to a lot of men's groups for male trauma survivors, and that was very helpful. So one door opens up, and it just opens up more doors, and that's how it works. You just got to jump right into the fire and get going on it.
Wonderful. And, I really appreciate what you said about really building that courage to really face some of those fears that we would have masked with addiction and
Mhm.
substance use. And usually there might be some anxiety around actually going forward and getting that courage to seek that support and, enter those spaces with other people that might be facing the same struggles. So, can you just share with me what was that anxiety like in terms of really taking that step? What do you think really helped you overcome those thoughts that kind of hold us back from seeking that support and following through?
Well, certainly we're getting, voice of men, things like movements like this or causes like this. Certainly we're looking at those topics of like where it's important for men to find safety, men to be vulnerable and share and basically open up and talk about what's going on in our hearts and our minds and feel safe about it. Because I know that growing up, I always had to, keep my emotions stuffed down and stuff because I felt like the world was just judging me in the sense that, if I shared my emotions, if I shared what I was thinking about, then I would be looked at as weak. I would be
Hmm.
looked at as not a strong man, and maybe cultural and maybe familial or society. There's so many different barriers that are there, but it was at the point when the pain was more than those challenges to stay in. Like the pain was more powerful than the challenges of staying within the hiding in my emotions and just coasting through the world and not really truly finding out the man that was inside of me. So that was when I sort of realized that, man, there's a tool, there's a purpose to this pain, that it keeps coming up and it keeps telling me something, and there's a reason for it. So instead of running away and hiding through addictions and running away and hiding through many different things, violence or aggression, I started to look at it in a different perspective, that the pain and discomfort that I had was actually a tool for me, that was signaling me to dig deep at something that was inside of me.
Hmm. And I appreciate you addressing those full range of emotions
Mm,
that we really find hard to regulate when we're going through that healing journey. So many things come up, so many thoughts and memories of some of the trauma um, come to surface when we're dealing with something that's quite difficult and challenging. And, how did you manage through those various range? Because, you have that initial trauma reaction, which is the fight and flight of, just really recognizing and keying into what's actually happening. And
mhm,
then you have that physical and emotional effect of, just experiencing, um, you know, what that does to you and how it changes you as a person and as an individual. And I think you mentioned that, just trying to not run away, which is that flight response, and
mhm.
stay in that um, holding pattern, I would say, of not being able to move forward. But you found a way to do that. And what do you think were those strategies that really helped get you through?
Well, that's a good question, and I think it's really interesting. What I learned in my recovery is that a lot of my liabilities, a lot of the defects of character, the flaws that I had, actually those things I was able to turn those liabilities into assets. And one of those things I remember was, like, through a lot of therapy, was the realization that an individual that's going through a lot of difficult pain, I will compartmentalize life to, because my brain and my body is trying to get, have relief. So I had to learn how to keep this pain over here that was triggering me with this situation, and I had to learn how to keep this type of distress over here. And so I learned how to do that, and it keeps me safe. Now, however, I can't go on living a life compartmentalizing all of those things, because I'm not truly living in the moment. And so what I had to learn to do was that I started to change what I was compartmentalizing. So when I would start to have some intense emotions around fear, grief, or loss, or even a depressive state, I knew already those skills, how to compartmentalize. So I put those in a place like that I could work with it. I can keep it, so it was kind of like detached from me.
Mm-hmm.
It was detached from me, and I was able to use that as a tool for me to look at. Well, okay, there's something here. Like one of my therapists actually said a long time ago that triggers and those things are actually portals for us to do deeper work. And so once I learned how to not react to my body and my mind in a destructive way,
Yeah.
I learned how to respond to those signals, and sit and breathe and listen to what those messages were trying to tell me.
Mm-hmm. So, those alarm systems, you were able to really redirect some of that negative experience and find a positive way to cope and work through and sit through some of those uncomfortable feelings.
Yeah,
I mean, that is so admirable and one of the hardest things to do because, as you know, this month is Child Abuse Prevention Month and Domestic Violence Month. And it's also a call to action for people in the community and guardians and people that are responsible for children to really take a stand and advocate to prevent some of these situations occurring. And, when you and I had talked about, some of the things that we can do once we're healing and working through our coping is to really tap in to some of those things that we weren't given as a child and some of those things that weren't validated for us when we witnessed harm and experienced harm. So, in your own words, what do you think would be helpful for the community to realize in terms of what they need to do to really support people that have witnessed or experienced a traumatic event?
yeah, absolutely. What I would say is, you know, the one of the difficult challenges is generational or intergenerational trauma, and
Mhm.
and so it's very difficult to, like, I've always come from the belief that it happen like the real change happens within the home, within the individual, within the family, or the close connections that are there. And it really is a responsibility of those guardians and the parents and the closer adults that are around, that have some trust with children, that to build a safety type of a safety net for the children, to to teach and to show that the messages that, where things are, like, if there's violence and stuff, we have to learn how to talk to children about certain things in certain ways, and not, like, be afraid to express those the difficult discussions that we have to have. There has to be a way to talk about how we have to watch how we label and we categorize things as well too, because sometimes I think when I look back at my own childhood, somewhere along the line I was getting messages that feelings were bad, that
Mhm.
feelings were negative. If I was sad or if I was fearful, it was a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that sort of that message as children is it makes it, something that it's not that easy to approach.
Yeah.
But what I would do is start to change the language around our emotions and the right and how, like what you had mentioned, which was great, which is that we are human beings with a full range of emotions, and none of them are neither positive or negative. They're just they're intense, or there may be something that we can manage.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And in terms of your coping strategies, what are those things that you do to manage those intense feelings and emotions that come up?
Well, I like to say that I'm a monk that can sit in the forest and and there would be like animals and rainbows and pink clouds and everything all peaceful, to get to that place to cope with the difficulty of those emotions. But a lot of times, actually, it really is quite simple. It's learning how to sit with those intense emotions and breathe, feel them in the body. There's so much work now out there. I'm sure you're aware of about somatic therapy. EMDR is something that I experienced a little bit too for therapy, and then cognitive behavioral therapy or DBT, psychotherapy, psychodynamic psychotherapy. There's so many different modalities out there that I've learned to help me identify what's going on in my body and notice it. And that's a big step for us to name it, and I'll share this one thing that a friend of mine said to me a long time ago: name it, claim it, and tame it.
Yes, I love that.
I'm sure you've heard it before. It's just naming what's going on with us is such a huge thing. So that's one of my coping skills. I try to embrace, as best I can, is to notice what is happening, what is going on.
Mm-hmm. And, I think that's just an amazing grounding technique when we're just experiencing a little bit of that disassociation or, like you said, triggers that might be taking you back to a place that, you know, wasn't a good experience and could cause some dysregulation. So I really like those techniques and just really looking at using different parts of the body and senses just to really ground yourself. And like you said, just really pay attention and notice, where those triggers are coming from and, just really trying to find some way to soothe yourself. That's part of the healing journey. Absolutely.
Exactly. So I'll just share with you quickly because I'm actually doing self-compassion mindfulness like teacher in training,
Beautiful.
and this could be a whole other episode that we talk about, but I'll just share briefly that the self-soothing, especially, that's a message for men and boys as well, that that could be that could be helpful for our communities to look at healthy ways to soothe when we're feeling something. And one of them is quite simple and it's very interesting. So, when something happens and we see something that's frightening, which our automatic reaction is
Yeah.
we kind of,
Hold
like
your
we
breath.
put our hands here. So in a way that's it, this is what self-compassion is born from, because we already have something built in our mechanisms to protect ourselves. And
Hmm.
nobody ever says that we cannot use it willingly or on our own when we're doing difficult work or when there's something that we have to do. And usually I just hold my hand like this over my chest, or I put it over my heart, like if I'm doing something very, very difficult. And so there's one exercise I do where it's a mindfulness visualization practice where I visualize a lot of the difficult words that are sitting on my heart. For example, like if I'm feeling pain or sorrow, or I'm not worthy, I don't feel like I can love myself right now. And so if my heart broke is breaking open, those words that are sitting on my heart can fall right into my heart,
Hmm.
to do that work, to say to myself, give myself those new messages that I am worthy, I am lovable, I am needed in the world. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I mean, those affirmations, they go a long way. And thank you, Tanasha, for participating. And I think once we're able to identify what's so uncomfortable and really sit through it, um, you know, our outcome uh, happens to be more of what we desire, which is to have a positive um, interaction and healthy connection with people. So, just getting back to centering that, because we talk a lot about relationships, and
Mhm.
how do you find, on this journey that you're able to regain that trust and rebuild a healthy connection with others?
This is where the true acid test is, because in the last couple of years, in terms of my own recovery and healing as a male trauma survivor, you know, one of the key things that I've been learning about relational uh, conflict and relational connection with other people is that the only way I could heal some of those attachment wounds, if you want to call them, or the disconnection, is by in actually practicing in the relationship, and so that's where the big challenge is. And I find that it could be with anybody, it could be any type of relational conflict that's there. There has to be a way for us to acknowledge and identify that some of our wounds that we carry can only be dealt with within a relationship situation. Because this person has said to me once, they said, if we were wounded in a relationship, then we need to be recovering in a relationship, right?
Okay.
So because we were wounded in a relationship, so I was assaulted at age 3. I was sexually assaulted at age 3. So believe you me, I've had to practice and practice over so many years how to build a healthy bond with other people, not just romantically, but just in general. Trust, because the male babysitter that assaulted me, that was a position of authority. So I've also in my life I've always struggled with authority, people that were in authority positions, and I had to learn how to see that they're protecting me. I had to learn that look that people are protecting me instead of out to get me, and there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that goes around that trust.
Mm-hmm.
To trust somebody, to them for them to allow you to get into their relational part and build healthy communication, healthy skills to connect with other people, and it'll be an always day-to-day strategy that I need to learn. So
Wonderful. Yeah. And in just, in your own words, what do you find helped you just get through um, and rebuild and reconnect?
I would say I've had to go out and make mistakes just like every other human being has had the opportunity to do that. And learn how to have compassion for myself if I've made a mistake or something like that. Like, so I'm not hard on myself. It's one of the things I beat myself up so bad. I beat myself up so bad because I feel like I should be at a certain place. So one of the things that I've been learning lately is to just be more compassionate to myself. It's such an important thing, and for men and boys to learn that language of self-compassion is the greatest gift we can give to ourselves. I can't simplify it enough. The innocence that we had, that men have an innocence, boys have an innocence. We all have an innocence. Children have an innocence, and I think somewhere in adulthood we think we have to just we can't practice our innocence as adults. Society is telling us that we got to be serious. You know, so we have to always try to find ways. And I find through my own self compassion exercise, I'm able to tap into that innocence that I had lost, and I can return to innocence. I
Mm-hmm.
can return to a homecoming within my heart that has always been there, I believe, and my memoir talks about this a lot, that I feel like, uh, sort of in a way, my soul had to go someplace to be there for a long time. My soul had to go there, and so now it's like returning back to that home of that innocence of that little child that was there.
Mm-hmm. Well, just want to hold some space for that because it's a lot of powerful work. And we talked a little bit about, healing our inner child and just giving ourselves that kindness and then gentleness that we probably didn't get when we experienced that trauma. And, what we can actually give to ourselves now through that healing process is to really, express our needs and to have them reciprocated in a healthy way, knowing that we will be able to get our needs met.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And having our needs met, is, I think that's the other language that we have work to do around is, and I think we talked about this yesterday, is to, for um for us to, for men especially, to feel like we have a space to express what our needs are,
Hmm.
express that this is difficult for me, you know, express that, I'm in pain right now and I'm fearful of this. Express that, my father passed away, and I'm learning how to grieve those things, because those messages before were like, well, just stuff it down and just keep going, and don't let those emotions control you. You know what I mean?
It's manning up and toughening up. Yeah.
It's such a powerful message, and I have to deal with it every day. I have to
Mhm.
deal with it every day. So, it's almost like de learning or unlearning those messages, and
Yeah.
bringing space for new messages of courage, hope, vulnerability, and those types of things.
Yeah, and especially, the empathy where, some of us are conditioned not to really understand how others may feel, just about how it affects us. So, in terms of just saving that room and space, I know we talked about sharing one of your poems, and I think this would be a really good time to just really, talk about resilience
Mhm.
and how, with support and facing our fears and challenges, not running and hiding and masking and addiction and anxiety and depression, but actually sitting with those uncomfortable feelings, getting the support that you need, and then validating yourself in the process by learning new techniques of coping and managing and relating and engaging. So, in terms of your resilience, what do you think helps you stay present and focused?
Well, I believe that, I do have a strong faith life, for myself, and I'm a very creative person. I love music and dance. If I could be a professional dancer, then I would. Because that's I love, I mean, one of the things growing up was I used to try to follow Michael Jackson's every single moves,
Nice.
and and so, like, there's just so many things, and but those things, like, are really helped me, because I had to learn how to live in my mind for to cope with things.
Yeah.
And the consequence of that, was that I think I had too much time in my mind, that some mental health issues came from that, and some other emotional, like, so, but I had to learn how to turn that, again, what I said earlier, is like to turn that liability into an asset. So I use my imagination now as a tool to understand myself, the meaning in the world, um, just who I am as a person, and
Hmm.
those things are really, really helpful. for me. And I always go back to music. I play music. I still love to write. I'm actually probably going to write another memoir after this one, Wounded Healer. And so there's so much more to share. That I want to share the world. I want to reach out to more men, more boys, but also anybody that's experienced trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma is such a huge buzzword now in our culture, and I think you and I talked about this too. I think one of the things that we got to remember is, my view is that it's the destination still. It's the
Mhm.
destination. Or wait, no, it's the journey. Sorry, it's the journey, not the end result.
Yeah.
There's no quick fix to healing trauma. So enjoy, in a way, not enjoy, but I mean embrace those moments that you're going through adversity, because those are the real things that are going to teach us those skills to learn. Embrace the pain. The answer to the pain is in the pain, you know and so looking at those difficult adversities in our life are going to teach us so much about ourselves. There's no quick fix to getting to a place where you can be peaceful and serene. you know Enjoy the journey along the way. And because a friend of mine said once, we may not experience that adversity again.
Hmm.
you know and there's such richness there. It's almost like diamonds in the rough. It's like when you look at a rock, that I look at myself like that, like a rock that was in the earth, all jagged and tough and rough edges and nothing, and then all of a sudden that pressure from the light and the power of the water and everything, that when they do the mining for the gold and diamonds, they break down that rock,
Hmm.
and inside is a diamond.
Hmm.
And I want men and boys and other people, everybody, I want them to realize that through breaking down all of that tough stuff, that shield around us, that protective stuff, there's that diamond that's inside, that's shining in you.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And I mean, it takes a while
Yeah,
for those layers to be worked on and for that inner light to shine through.
absolutely.
Wow, this has been such an enriching conversation for me in terms of the healing process and the journey, and what it just takes for people that have been wounded to heal. So, I want to leave some time for you to share, and then I'll come back and then we will wrap up the show. So I will leave it to you.
Yeah, perfect. So, um, is there a prompt for us to mention something, or just?
No, go ahead. If there was something else you wanted to add, continue. I just wanted to leave some room because I know you wanted to share one of your poems. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I wasn't sure.
So, this, I'll just mention. So this memoir,
Mm-hmm.
um, I published it a little over a year ago, and this took me about 7 years to write, and basically this was a voice of me that was, trying to express so much, and it's a very difficult thing as you can imagine, to get to a place to try to take what's out in my mind, in my heart, and make it more real in a way. And it was sort of very, like, I think cathartic is that's the word. Like, I think it's like it's the process, like what you were
Oh.
mentioning. There's other layers, like it's like the onion. You're peeling the onion over, and you're gonna find and discover new things about yourself as you go. Some of it's things that I don't like about myself, but there's a saying that I heard too once. I'm not the man I was. I'm not the man that I want to be. But but thankfully, I'm not the man I used to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, and taking that pressure off ourselves. So with this memoir, I was able to really work on it. I work closely with First Nations in upper Northern Ontario,
Mm-hmm.
Canada, And I had the great honor and privilege of working up there with the communities to support with mental health and trauma. And then I returned back here south because my mom lives in Hamilton and I'm living in London now, and that's how I met my mom and 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 you. And it's just been a great unfolding of this great mystery of life. And so uh, I like to go around and share and talk as much about my story as I can,
Absolutely.
and it's just important for me to realize that there was purpose in my life. Because when I work with other people and I look at my own life, I didn't I didn't I was suicidal. I was suicidal all through my life. In my memoir, I talk about this. When I was an adolescent, I was in the kitchen. I was very sick. I was intoxicated with alcohol, and I was probably 13 or 14 already. I was doing drinking and drugs, and I had a knife at my chest.
Hmm.
And I remember just crying and just holding that knife in my chest, and I used to sleep with that knife under my pillow because I thought that's gonna be my way out. I thought that's gonna be my way out, and I just felt safe and comfortable that I knew that there was a way out in my life if I really wanted to. And I struggled with those feelings for such a long time.
Hmm.
And I just mentioned this about because a person that I knew just recently purchased this book, and they said, "Lee, I can identify with that story about you being on the kitchen floor." And I said, "That's beautiful." I said, I mean, that's, like that you can identify. I said, "That's where the healing starts." And this person said, but it was, instead of a knife, it was a gun. I had a gun, you
Wow.
know, and so, this book is going to reach out there, more and more. The story, we all have a story. We all have a story to share. We all have a beautiful message through our pain, through our sorrow, and all that kind of stuff. And everybody's got a book in them. You know what I mean? And so once you're able to find how you can share your message to the world, then you're able to do that in a way that works for you. So
Absolutely.
so I'm going to read then a sneak preview of one of my poems in the front. And poetry, by the way, is part of my part of my creativity that's helped me so much. To reflect and to contemplate on who I am and the world around me. By the way, I'll just mention real quickly. Nature has been such a gift for me to get connected to. Water, uh, trees, animals, the sky, the sun, the moon, all of those things. Because when I was up north in northern Ontario, I saw the stars. After work, I went out and I saw the stars, and that was very comforting for me. To be, to witness that, and that's where I kind of regained some of that innocence again. I kind of remember doing some meditations along the river up there and looking up at the stars, and I thought, I'm going to do that inner child work right now and bring that wonder back in. With
Absolutely.
the wonderment and the curiosity of what's going on, the curiosity of this adventure that I'm on.
Hmm.
So this poem I'll share, and thank you for letting me talk. Um, it's called "In My Heart."
Beautiful. Sure.
My justice is my fire, my own sacredness, and I am the wind that came into the flame. I am the storm, the fire, the law, the segments of the sky and clouds. I am the flame that burns into the cliff and clay. I am the dark parts of the bottom of the river. I am the light that ripples on the bay. I am the voice that screams on my own shore. My eyes and blood and bones are made with dirt, and my heart was made from the stars. The twigs that rise up from the ice become my veins, and my thoughts are like the branches that reach out to the moon. I am my heart that opens and closes. Long before my heart was formed, I was a silent walker, half a ghost. I shaped the twilight and the shadows. I was reaching the stars for you. Although along a path of forbidden time, I have a heart that's gone mad with love. Yet day stars shine through the forest in moments. Now I see in carnal eyes a new angel gone astray. Serenity, because being broken is great, is sweet, and being lost in my heart is love.
Mhm. That was so beautiful. And I get it. But can you just share with the rest of our audience, like what was going through your mind at that time?
When I was writing that, or,
Yeah. Hmm.
you know, after after I started to like really want to move away from my trauma, that like because it kept me in a prison.
Yeah.
When I started to dig into the beauty of who I was as a man, like I mentioned, all sorts of feelings of belonging started to happen for me. The real healing really started once I made that decision to let it go.
Hmm.
And the things that are around me are a part of it. Like you guys in this situation here is a part of it too. Like um we're all stardust. We're all stardust, so we're all kind of making those connections and firing off. Eventually that's what happens, because that's the way it's supposed to be. I didn't obviously at 3. um if I decide to live in anger and resentment, um I'm gonna miss out on trying to see what part of life that I can have quality in. And I know that I say this without, not being egotistical, but I am a miracle. And I'm a miracle because I have everything against me in in how we see a situation like me. Mental health issues, trauma, addictions. I mean, I should not be here right now, but I know that there's purpose, and I know that each man and boy and anybody that's experienced trauma, I know that there's purpose in their life in some way, and it's through their story. That's what my memoir is about. It's through our stories that people can identify with us.
Hmm. That's wonderful. And I really like that message, that, healing is for everyone. And like you said, you're opening up that journey by giving us an insight into what you did and how you started and how you're continuing to show up in these spaces and talk about how, we could support you and how we could support others in their healing journey. So amazing. Thank you so much. I learned so much over the past couple of days of connecting with you, and we'll definitely continue to do more work in this organization.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, so before we go, I do have a couple of announcements. But first of all, I want to thank Lee Little for coming. And can you just let us know where we can get your book and how we could reach out to you?
For sure. So my memoir is available on Amazon. And Yeah, there's some that posted there, and I do have my website leelyttle.com that I try to I try to keep updated as best I can. But you can reach me through my website for sure, and any connections or any feedback, I'm so open to continuing the dialogue, to continuing bringing the message out and supporting Voice of Men for sure. Voice of Men is just how this happened is really remarkable. Where I'm
Mhm.
at right now and how we're all connecting. So I want to continue with that strong message of hope for men and boys, and for anyone that's experienced trauma.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lee. And I welcome to continue doing that work alongside you. So we have a few live shows open up, which is about sharing your personal life journey, and that live talk show is Sunday at 10 a.m. We have Vili, which is a Tamil live talk show, Sundays at 8 a.m. The monthly men's group meeting, and it's for men only by men, and it's every second Saturday of the month from 7 p.m. to 8:30. And you will be provided a Zoom link for that. There are no limitations to gender, age, nationality, or ethnic group. All walks of life can participate in any of our shows. If you want to, sorry, if you want to be a guest on any of our shows or willing to be part of our organization and help us directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We'd love to work with individuals, professionals, experts, and community organizations and corporate government officials and other business. You can find us on all social media platforms, Voice of Men 360. Our email is info at voiceofmen360.org, and the website is voiceofmen360.org. We're also live on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, all those social media platforms. Again, Lee, thank you for joining and sharing your life journey with us tonight. And I want to thank you and everyone that's joining us. Please share your comments. Please share your feedback. We'd love to hear from you. And on behalf of Voice of Men 360 and the organization, my name is Alethia. I'm a psychotherapist. And you can also connect with me here on this platform. Have a good night.